dusty not. I thought today I'd take you on a garden tour, just to show you what the garden looks like right now. It is not the most beautiful garden at the moment. It is quite messy. The mess is not just because it is after winter and all the plants hasn't been, well, the remains of the plants from last year hasn't been cleared off, but it's also messy because this garden is definitely work in progress, and since neither I or my husband can be here full time, we do as much as we can when we're here, but then when we leave, we sometimes have to leave just everything the way it is, and that means that there are a lot of leftovers from our work on site, so bear over with the place not being the cleanest and nicest place ever. It is spring and it's the garden is starting to come alive. We still have frost at night, but some things are starting to pop up, the early flowers at least. The rhododendron looks nice. Lots of flower buds this year. I didn't have that many flowers last year, so it's fun to see that this year they are actually coming on nicely. Up in the garden above here, this is my main flower bed, but as far as I get further up, there are lots of plants that will be moved. I have the plants that are still in their pots. I'm actually not sure if they have survived. I think some of them have died. They have been 2 years in their pots now. This area here, behind between that hedge that is now, I think, 5 or 6 meters wide. It's an old hedge that we are going to cut. And in the space between this hedge, most of it will have to go. Then between here, I'm planning to create some kind of rose tunnel or something. We'll see what it turns out to be. It has quite a lot of sun midsummer, a bit shady in the afternoons, but it will get better when the hedge is moved. Okay, so this is the back of the house. It doesn't look very pretty at the moment. The woman who lived here loved gardening, and they said she had a beautiful rock garden here. Now, it has been left overgrown for, I suppose, 20 years before we came here, and I started planting and having some soil, but whatever weed was in the ground has just penetrated and come up, so I have to dig it all up and start afresh. Now the rockery overgrown with lots and lots of weed. This silver leaf thing. I have started last year digging up the perennials to save them and have them for later, but there's still a lot here, but I have taken out, as you can see, big holes and chunks everywhere. Now this is one of the projects I have to attend to quite soon. This area here is going to become a more shady garden. It has sun in the beginning of the day, but anyway, it's going to be a garden for rhododendrons and plants that like more acid soil. So I have planted a magnolia here and a few rhododendrons, and some hydrangea, but it's definitely a working project. There are lots of weeds, annual weeds in the soil, so I have to cover it with cardboard and wood chips, and just leave it. Here is my Austin rose. It's actually starting to have leaves. And not completely finished the stream yet. Plastic all over and stones, reminding me of all the work I have to do. Anyway, pond is also dirty, but what I call my mother's rose bush is really looking great. I got it as a present from my neighbors. They gave it when my mother passed away. She loved this. Here's something I'm really excited about. I haven't moved the cover yet, but underneath here is a Gunnera. I know I have. It is something I'm actually probably, I don't know if it is alive, but we'll see. We'll see what pops up later. Here's a dam seen from the lower end, where the waterfall will be. Really beautiful view down here. Here I am in the plant nursery of the orangery. This is the little room where I'm supposed to sow seedlings and grow them before they can be planted out. As usual, I plan to have too many seedlings, and it's already filled up here. So yesterday I started out planting a few things down in the greenhouse, but as you can see up here, it's lots of stuff. And if we move around a bit, there are shelves up, 3 layers of them all in all. And also I have some more behind me here. So here's the tomatoes that are doing fine. Actually, the tomatoes, I was a bit worried because I sowed them already in I think at the end of January, which is quite early, but anyway, I was hoping that they would get a good start and that I could plant them out, well, not that early in the greenhouse, but because of the danger of frost. I'm hoping to be able to eat tomatoes by July at least, not wait all the way until August before we have tomatoes that are ripe. My early sowing didn't actually do that good, because after I had planted them in their pots, they just stagnated. They stopped growing. For weeks and weeks they looked exactly the same, and I didn't know what happened. I don't know, maybe it was too cold here because I only have a fan. It didn't manage to keep it that warm in that first period, so that might be one thing. But I also think it was the soil that I chose. Because this soil didn't have much nutrition in it. I noticed a few weeks back when I bought some tomato fertilizer and I poured that on them, then suddenly they started growing, and in 2 weeks now they have grown quite a bit. So I guess they are now at the stage that they would have been if I had sowed them a month later. So maybe that is a lesson for me to take to next week, to next year, not start that early. I love it out here, but I'm starting to have a problem with the space already. I probably need more shelves. They're growing really quickly. taking a garden tour because things are starting to flower, and they will probably be finished flowering before I have time to do the tour. So although there are things laying around, I'll take a little walk. So starting here by the house, this flower bed by the entrance, I meant to move this hosta this year, but I didn't have time for it, so I'll just try to fertilize it and keep it. There's this low lilac. I don't think it's getting much bigger than that, but I had 3 of them. One died this winter. It's supposed to stand about here where I have planted the dahlias. So 3 dahlias. That one is covered by the hosta, I can see. Maybe I have to cut that leaf or just put it away. Then here are some daylilies, hemerocalis, and here is a phlox, deep red one, I think. Yeah, here are a type of sedum, and here I have some lilies. Well, it's not so interesting now that they are not in flower. Sedum back there also. Now here's a small hedge. It hasn't started to flower yet, but it's pink flowers, not the typical red ones. Here's Robert. He's taking a rest for today. Then there is my huge 14-meter long flower border, where you can see the mess behind because I have been planting on the other side yesterday. Didn't have time to finish it today, but anyway, the rhododendrons are flowering hugely. The low type, this deep purple color, or lilac, I don't know what to call it. Lots of flowers this year. The same goes for the red ones. It's intense, deep pink. And then there is this other one, kind of funny color though. It's soft pink with lilac middle in it. Seems like the bees love it also. So here's an achalasia. Maybe see better if I turn it that way. It's a blue type, and behind there is a red one, pink one that we see later on. Here is a group of peonies that I actually moved last year in the spring. So they didn't flower last year because what I've discovered with peonies is that if you're going to move them in the autumn, not in the spring. But anyway, this year they seem to be flowering well. Hosta, this one I think I planted last year. Seems like the slugs have been at it. Another hosta, that is probably 2 years ago. Doesn't seem like the slugs like that one as much though. And these are these big grasses, Calamagorgis or something, I can't remember. They are going to be about 1.5 meters tall, so they are still growing. And a lot of peonies back here as well. These I think are red. Now bronze leaves as we call them in Norwegian. I love them, they are so beautiful, the color. Yeah, I have planted them all around and I can't have enough of them, so I will just see if I can get some more plants back here. Monada, and this one, okay, so this is my bad conscience. 2 years ago I bought these plants meant for a place that a bed that I haven't had time to. I'm glad that they are still alive, but I can see some of these evergreens starting to dry out or die, I don't know. This rose bush, one of the branches just wilted and died, but all the what's it called, sage, they are looking nice. And I planted once 5 roses here, and 2 of them are left, so I seldom have success with roses. This is called Nina Weinbull. The pond area is in great need of a weed. You can see all the weed along here. I can barely see them. Oh, I probably shouldn't go this way, but look anyway. This is beautiful. This azalea looks really nice, and also these allium balls. Now here is the ending of the stream, but I haven't finished yet. I have to lay some stones or something to cover the plastic there, but otherwise it's almost finished. That big seems like a rhubarb, and I actually think it is a real rhubarb, but I bought what's supposed to be artificial rhubarb and they died out. And now suddenly I have what appears to be rhubarb, but I have never planted it there. Some grasses and the big allium balls. Oh, and the peonies here have started to flower. Really, that's not really the color, it's more dark purple, red, deep red. Strange how it looks in real and through the camera. But lots of peonies to come here, and alliums, and this Achillea, the dark type with white insides. And here is the rose that was gifted to me when my mother died. Fuchera, very beautiful. One that is not so beautiful as the other ones. I don't know why. They are supposed to be the same types. And irises. These are at its best right now. Wow, look at them. Look at that. Forest of irises. Beautiful. And also towards the water. Oh, that's just so nice. I like the way the wind catches them and they wave a little bit. But what I'm most excited about this year is actually this thing here. I'm gonna wonder if it's gonna grow. It has at least survived the winter. Now, these giant alliums are looking good with the hosta, the big hosta, and the rhubarb. Strange. Going up to the big flower border on the other side. This is what I'm most proud of this year. It's the stream. I have finished most of it, stones and all, and planted this area here. Well, planted this area this year. So that's new. And I also planted 2 ferns over on the other side. You might be able to see them. But there the bronze leaves are looking very good. And the rhododendrons are flowering. It's 2 plants there. And 3 azaleas also. They look really good. Maybe I should get closer. And then I have planted ladies mantle all along here, and that's the best plant for the edge of a pond or a stream, because it covers it so completely. And I actually love the way they look now that it has been raining, where they collect the water. But I love the flowers as well. They can be used in bouquets, but they just look so good in the bed. The fern over there is actually a natural fern that was here on the plot, and I found when I dug up something else, and I just tucked it down there. Then I have planted some trees, and I have more plants here and up there. This is a tiny pond here, or a widening part in the stream. I'm planning to have some water plants here as well. That plant back there is going to be 2 meters tall. Still need some stone. Here by the terrace is a flower bed that I just started on this year, or I have remodeled this year is more correct to say, because I actually, this rock hill that we have here was the first flower bed that I attended to when we moved here, because it had been a flower bed before. But it has been overgrown with grasses and some of the flowers that the roots were in the ground from before. So what I'm doing now is to actually remove as much of the soil that I can down to the bare bedrock. And then I put cardboard on top and then fill it up with soil, and then I replant. So I'm hoping that this will make this flower bed better in the future. Also, I'm replanting more with shrubs than with perennials. So here I have Veronica that is actually getting a lot taller than it said. So I planted it in the front because it was supposed to be like 30 centimeters. Here I have kind of built up this bed with rocks so that I can fill some soil into it, because these things will act more like containers, because now they are I'm built up and it's solid rock underneath, so it's cardboard and then soil, so I have to water it regularly. But I think these plants will handle drought. These are some blåene, it's called in Norwegian. Well, I'll get around to the name later on, but they will spread along the rock here. That's my plan. Here is another berberis, a red one. Can't remember the name right now, but it's starting to look better. It's been in a waiting bed for 2 years, and I was almost afraid that it was going to die, but it hasn't. Then I've planted the hydrangea up here. That was in the waiting bed also. It is probably too dry for it here, but I try to water it and see how it goes. I hope it will survive. In the lawn area, there you see the house. We have the big lawn tree that I planted last year. It's doing well. It's going to be very red leaves in the autumn, and it is a maple of some sort. I'm keeping the tags on now. Red Sunset is the name of it. Beautiful peonies, that is what is the best thing at the moment. More plants that will bloom soon. And I love these bronze leaves. What it sounded like. Now, here are some type of shrubs that I have brought with me from Norway. I have 3 of them. They are very late in the spring, coming into leaves, and I'm going to move them because they are all too close. Because here is this a shrub that is going to be big also. They are all flowering now, so this is kind of a really white corner at the moment. And then you have flowers back there, and of course the beautiful flowering tree there, or shrub. It's like a small tree. I'm not going into names and details here now, but just looking at more peonies that's flowering, hostas. Here are some annuals that are waiting to flower. These, although I have staked them at the bottom, most of them are, I tend to remember that it was really covered with flowers. Now I pruned it this year, so we'll see. Here is the Diabolo by the terrace. We had a heavy rain the other day, so the leaves kind of, or the branches just bent. And also this giant alliums, they look spectacular right now. These are blooming later than the other alliums I have. And yeah, they are just gorgeous. Then there's a rose that's in bloom back there. And yeah, here I can see the dahlias that I planted down here. They're actually, the flowers are a lot smaller than I thought they would